My microphone. Oh man. Hey everybody, y'all have excuse me. This has been one of those days. Y'all, if you were on the earlier live and then it cut off, sorry about that. I've been having some little technical issues today. So bear with me. Um Also, if you are here, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. We're going to be having a interesting, informative conversation today, y'all. I'm mostly going to be putting on my listening ears. For those of you guys who are joining, likes are free, y'all. Likes are free. So I'm gonna be putting on my listening ears. But you know, we had a discussion last week where I don't even really know how this happened, but basically this idea kind of came up of different men started sharing their experiences with women and their experiences specifically being rejected by women. And I was surprised the amount of callers that started to come in and share their experience. And we kind of got into that topic towards the tail end of the live. So I didn't have as much time to really dig into that topic. But I wanted to just create this live to continue that discussion because I think very, very often we hear one side of the story. I can say for me growing up, just talking to different women, period, how many times have I heard, gosh, how many times have I heard like these black men don't want us, these black men, these this, he's over here going for Becky, the preferences, yada yada yada. Like we've all heard it, pretty privileged. That discussion, something I'm planning on talking about over the next few weeks, but it is very common for us to just hear women talk about the different attention they feel like they're not getting, and the times they've been rejected, the times they've been overlooked, the times they have been pushed to the side. And so that's the only story that I heard, if I'm just being honest. That's the only story that I had heard for years. So again, if you are here, get those likes up. Also, special shout out to Hakeem for the 15 on the super chat. I say starting off with a like and support. Very, very much appreciated. Also, shout out to Ruminant Melanoid. I really hope I did not butcher your name. But thank you for the $2 super chat. Much, much appreciated. But anyways, so like I said, I can say, at least for me, from what I've heard and what I think has actually been really promoted a lot of times in media, from where are all the good black men, where are all the good men, period, and this one-sided dialogue of all the different times women have been passed over for men that they think are worthwhile, and the different times that they haven't been noticed. And this constant conversation, in this constant story narrative of these guys aren't giving us the time of day. They're going for the Beckys, or they're going for other women. They're not enough around, yada, 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 yada. And so, like I said, I've heard this pretty much my entire life. And so the discussion we had last week, that was the first time I've kind of had multiple gentlemen call in and share their experience, their stories of being rejected. And like I said, that is something for me that I've not really heard. I've not really heard. And after, just having those small conversations with the gentleman, just like I said, it was only like maybe 3 or 4, and then seeing some of the different comments I got in, I wanted to continue this discussion or create a little bit of a space for us to engage in this dialogue, because I'm thinking, man, maybe did I just scratch the iceberg, here, or like, is there more to this story that I'm not aware of? Is this more common than we think? So that's what we want to talk about. We're going to talk about what kind of black men are consistently being rejected by black women. What kind of black men actually aren't getting noticed, can't be really lumped in with the Pookies and the Ray Rays or the bad boys or the hot guys or the F boys. Nobody's paying attention to them. People walk right past them and they're invisible. What are those guys that they're not getting noticed by black women? Maybe they're getting noticed by other kinds of women, but they're not. Who are they? What is their prototype? What is their personality? What are they into? And is that more common than not? Is it more common? Is it more likely that the majority of good men within the black community are getting passed over for a particular prototype or a particular kind of black male that there's a very small percentage of. And so this is the topic that I want to explore a little bit or talk about, because like I said, I think so often we hear one side, but we don't hear the other side. So I am, here to listen to you guys, to get your perspective on this, and to put in my listening ears. Also want to give a special shout out to Rob Mack with the 10 on the super chat. I see. Big media is pushing the conflict narrative. Yes. Yes, they are. I think they really, really are pushing the narrative. This gender war, it's silly. It's really silly. But like I said, my goal, I'm trying to be fair and balanced here. I am not perfect, and I do not know everything, and I do not have the answers to everything, obviously. But I think these are the kinds of conversations that are helpful. And I think these are the kinds of conversations, if we can start to try to bridge the gap, or at least hear both sides, then we can start to be a little bit more fair and balanced. And we're not existing in the echo chamber of just, oh, well, this is just for women, or this is just for men. I'm like, because for me personally, I'm like, a healthy community actually is healthy when men and women can work together. I don't like seeing the bickering. I don't like promoting this idea that I'm a femininity channel that is pro women at the expense of men, or at the expense of honoring or being respectful to men. That, to me, that is not a good femininity channel. If I am teaching women or encouraging women to distrust, to harm, to be disloyal, or to take advantage of men, what am I doing? Ultimately, I am contributing to the downfall of the community in the long run. I am creating a raising of a generation of women who don't know how to be wives, who don't know how to be partners, who don't know how to raise a family. To me, that's constructive. So I never want to be a femininity channel, right, that focuses on women issues at the expense of what's happening to the other half of the community. Because like I said, that is a bad, destructive, to me, strategy. And what strong community out there do we know do we see men and women fighting like that? It doesn't happen. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So anyways, I'm gonna drop the share link, because like I said, I'm more to put on my listening ears. I don't pretend to be an expert. I want to hear from some of you guys and your experiences, maybe in the dating market, maybe you're in there now, maybe when you're younger college years, maybe where you're at now, but how many of you guys have actually have you been rejected by Black women consistently? Or how many of you guys are you in situations where you find that you get interest from non-Black women consistently, but for whatever the reason, people, the ones who look like you, the ones who share your complexion, don't give you the time of day? Is that your experience? Is this a common experience? So I'm going to drop the link here for you guys to, if you guys want to call in. Yeah, if you guys want to call in, I'm gonna drop it here. Now I'm gonna share my little 2 cents. Like I said, this is just my little 2 cents, y'all. I'm not saying that I am an expert. This is just my little perspective. I believe that many of us are taught to be attracted to the wrong thing. There's reasons for this, right? One, there's such a large percentage of us who just we come from a single parent household. So already we're not coming from a perspective of how men and women work together, how a mom and a dad will work together, what a functional, healthy marriage would look like. So we're coming up with that disadvantage, not really knowing what is required to maintain a healthy relationship. That's the majority of us. So you start there. Then, like I said, us women, I think us women in particular, we're taught to compare when we're super, super, super young. I mean, this start all the way back in elementary school. I was talking to a friend about this a few minutes ago before I started this live. And she's like, yeah, it goes away all back until the first grade. You comparing, oh, who can do the splits? You know what I mean? Oh, look at her dress or her friends. Like, so we do live in this culture of comparison. And then you add to that things like social media, which now more than anything, social media, movies, television, different novels, these are the things that are teaching our young girls. It used to be that maybe it was strong communities or it was churches or different things, but there's been so much brokenness. And again, y'all, this is just my opinion, but there's been so much brokenness that I do think that there's a lot of women who are turning to this as their teacher, turning to this phone, social media as their instructor, because it's always there whenever they need it. It can fill the void. It can make them laugh. It can make them happy. It's instantaneous. It gives them that rush of gratification. And so many, I think, young girls, they're turning to this, or they're turning to online, as far as to try to come up with ideas of what a healthy marriage or relationship would look like, because they're not seeing it at home. They're not seeing it at home. And many of them are not around families or around other families to where they can see it. And so the best thing that they can understand is what they're seeing, what they're getting, like I said, from the telephone, from movies, from media, and they piece together their own ideas. The problem with that is if we allow our children to raise us, especially as Black people in America, right? If you're looking to media to portray back to you how you're supposed to be, then it's a problem. Because there's never been a time in the history of America or on Hollywood or whatever where the emphasis has been to try to create a positive narrative that would help encourage, the Black population as a whole. Of course, there's maybe good stories here and there, but the purpose of Hollywood or media is not necessarily to help fix the problems in the Black community or to help even portray a healthy image of the Black community. No, you usually make money off of drama. You make money off of mess. You make money off of stereotypes, off of the trauma. That is what brings and racks in dollars. And so again, you got girls turning to media, you got girls turning to, like I said, shows, social media, whatever, and they're getting these broken ideas of what a man looks like, right? False masculinity. We see, or not, I want to say false, but like I said, really, really one-sided. We see athletes, we see rappers. That's, for most of it, that's it. And then if you go from the urban or inner city, it's like, again, that's reinforced. But it's like we're seeing these very, I think, one-sided, one-dimensional views of this is what a successful Black man looks like. Again, athletes, entertainers, that's it. And like I said, if we're not coming from homes, or if we're not coming from situations where we're surrounded by families where we can see a man and a woman working together, then we don't really know. We have pieced together our idea of this perfect man based upon all these, you know what I mean, like media ideas. So like I said, I think that is a starting point. That's a starting point. And then we start to, as women, we start to choose guys, we start to choose people that are based upon our fantasies, right? Based upon, like I said, you may see an athlete or entertainer online. I mean, if we think of some of the most popular, just think for some of the most popular female YouTube channels to date, ones with millions of followers, they're usually celebrity gossip. It's celebrity gossip this, it's celebrity focused that, and so we're hyper focused on these celebrities, or hyper focused on the top 5% of the population, or the top 1% of the population. And like I said, if you don't have a real life experience to kind of help buffer that becomes your teacher, that becomes your instructor. So how many young girls are going out fishing for this, I think, really, really false idea of what a real man looks like? And like I said, many of that can be toxic. And because us as Black folks, we're not portrayed nicely online in the social media most of the time. There's not a good image of Black men as a whole portrayed. Then what are women going to be attracted to? They're going to be attracted to that toxic masculinity. I'm going to go into that a little bit, later on in this week. But that is to say, I really believe that at the end of the day, we as women are just taught to be attracted to the wrong thing. And I think to a certain extent, that's just all women, I think, because there's a sense of excitement. Like, if you grew up in a really, really stable home, I know girls who have grew up in stable homes. They go off to college and they do the party girl thing because they want to try something new. So I think to a certain extent, there's something in female nature, especially when they're young. They want to have fun. They want to have experiences. But in certain cultures, there are consequences associated with that. Like I said, I had a Chinese friend of mine who told me, I remember she was talking to me, she was dating a Black guy at the time, and she's like, man, I'm afraid if I bring home this Black guy and try to marry him, I'm going to lose my inheritance. Social consequences. There's another post I shared maybe a few weeks back. It was a South African woman, and she was talking about, man, my boyfriend, white guy, she's like, my boyfriend, he told me that he doesn't want to marry me because if he marries me, he'll lose his trust fund. And she's like, LOL, I'm not even mad at it. So those are just two examples. But what I'm saying is that there are social consequences for a lot of other cultures if a girl goes home and basically chooses the wrong kind of guy. Us, because Black culture in America is so broken down, I think there's that sense of social consequence. You coming back, maybe facing elders, facing a mom and a dad, facing a family structure that doesn't even really exist. So it's like you got girls just picking on their own, turning to other young girls, turning to other, women who themselves don't have successful relationships or themselves don't have healthy marriages or a healthy track record. And to me, it's just a revolving mess. And so I think the core of this is, like I said, we're not taught to look for the right qualities because we don't come from strong homes. And then there's doesn't seem to be a sense of responsibility or accountability for us to even want to do better as far as just in general. From women, like I said, we got women sometimes encouraging bad options. We got women being like, oh girl, no, you need to do better. Oh, he's not on your level. Just all this stuff. So it's just like a revolving door to me of just toxic ideology, toxic ideas that continues itself. So that is my long but personal explanation. But like I said, I wanted to share my perspective on this, and I am here to hear from you guys. I'm here to hear from you on what do you think? What are the kinds of men, what are the kinds of Black men that Black women overlook? I would say the Black women tend to go after the hyper masculine Black male, which usually falls under athlete or entertainers or something of that nature, while overlooking the other large majority of Black males who may be doing really, really great things or maybe really, really grinding in their job and their business, but they don't fit into that small prototype. That's my perspective. So I'm gonna hear from you. I have some people calling in. Also, special shout out to Eugene Steele with the 10 on the super chat. I see everybody wants a person she would dream about. This includes me. Some have realistic or unrealistic expectations. I think in terms of what I don't want. Shout out to you for the super chat, you guys. So I dropped the link. And I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me, in your opinion, what kinds of Black men do Black women overlook, and is it valid? Do they have the right to overlook the majority of Black men or a large percentage of Black men, or are we taught to choose wrong? I tend to think that there's some of us who are taught to choose wrong. That's not all of us. Some of us are avoiding men not worth being with, but I think there's some of us who we do look past good available men in search of a prototype. So let me bring some up. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you doing today?
I am good. So what do you think? What kind of Black men do Black women overlook?
I think it's really, really nuanced and complicated, but to kind of get the long and short of it out the way, I think Black women, in essence, kind of tend to overlook, ironically, the most alpha men. And when I say alpha, I mean alpha in the truest psychological sense, in
Okay.
somebody who knows who they are, knows what they will and won't accept, and they may not be the flashiest, but they are very, very much not influenced by the society at large, and they go their own way. Um, I know for me in college and high school, I I got overlooked somewhat by a lot of other Black women,
Right.
but I was always attracted to Black women. And when I would go
Okay.
out to parties and whatnot, I went to a PWI. So my friends, my roommates were white, so they would be like, "Hey, such and such is checking you out," and I'd be like, "No, I don't think so." But
Not
then
feeling.
again, I'm attracted to Black women, so I probably
Yeah.
was overlooking a lot of those signals. So it wasn't really until I kind of um, got out on my own, got into like my mid 20s, that I would say most of the mentality of the Black women that I was meeting started to more so align with mine.
Right. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. And so then you would say in high school, it was like in high school, it was just a no go. It wasn't really until you got into college specifically that you started to find women that you felt were giving you more, I guess, acceptance or giving you attention.
Yeah,
Was it college? Okay.
yeah. I
Very
was
interesting. And did you find now? No, a couple of questions. So, like the high school you were at, you said it was really small.
Yes, I'm from a very small town, Hampton, South Carolina. It's
Okay.
probably like 2,000 people. Everybody knows everybody type of,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. But in that so in that town, you were getting more attention from non-black women in South Carolina.
In college. In high
Oh,
school, I think some of it too is like, everybody knows everybody. And once
yeah.
you get labeled as whatever, like that in a small town like that, that's it.
Facts.
So, is growing up is like, okay, well, you the nerdy loner guy. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So then you would say, in your opinion, you're saying you think there's many black women who overlook alpha, the true definition of an alpha male, right? Somebody who's self assured, who isn't necessarily just trying to follow the crowd or follow any popular narrative, but is on his purpose. You think women are maybe not as attracted to that because it may not come with the glitz and the glam. And I want to make sure I understand your point.
yeah. Because some of the things that you're pointing out, when you say that women being attracted to the flashy,
The fact,
some of those guys, uh, a lot of those characteristics are responses that I kind of hate alpha beta, but that's the
yeah,
most relatable and quickest way to explain it. But in a nutshell, like those responses, those over the top bombastic responses, a lot of times are indicative of somebody who isn't self aware and emotionally intelligent and confident in themselves, and they portray a fragility to them.
okay,
So it's kind of like one of those things. Like I'm from the South, so we got a big saying like "hit dogs holler."
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's facts.
somebody says something that don't pertain to you, okay,
You just
but
let it.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head. I won't say that's certainly it for everyone, but I think women, I think who just in general are, if they are toxic in the mind, and now else to put it, if they're toxic or if they're unhealthy, they're going to be attracted to that which is toxic and unhealthy, and they may actually overlook something that's healthy because it's not familiar to them. And
yeah,
so I think that certainly exists in the Black community. Of course, that exists all across the board in all communities. But I think many of us within the Black community, many women in the Black community, do struggle with maybe toxic self narratives, unhealthy ideas of what a relationship is supposed to be like, and then even this is one of the great things I've really appreciated about Kevin Samuel's platform in general, where he's had people from all over call in, black women call in, and look, we know that what 1/3 of black women are in poverty. Let's just be honest. Like 1/3, I think, are at or below the poverty line. So we're not, as black women, we're not bossing it up like that. Many of us are struggling. So meanwhile, though, it just seems that everybody who calls in the show is like six figures, but then you find out like, oh, you're six figures living in where you're in Arkansas. Okay, you know what I mean? So it's like, which not to say you can't make it there, but I'm like, as a black woman from Arkansas, the likelihood of that happening is very, very, very slim. So basically, we're seeing these women are coming from maybe not necessarily the richest area, which is fine, but then there's all these lofty ideas, and sometimes I just wonder how many women are going after that sparkly thing because they're hoping that is going to basically save them from the reality of their life. And some women just are unhappy with the reality of their life and they want a ticket or a way out. And I'm not going to say that that's every black woman, but I do think there's a percentage of us who we're hoping that there's going to be that Prince Charming who's going to save us from our problems. And and again, I wonder if that looking for the glitz and the glam, if that's what that is.
yeah.
So,
I would definitely say this. It's a very nuanced topic,
mhm,
and there's no silver bullet to it. But I do
yeah.
feel we're very much products of our environment. And one thing that was kind of eye opening to me when I went through getting my life coaching certification, there
Okay.
was a program where um, a lady and a guy was going through divorce court, And the lady mentioned basically there's nothing wrong with this guy. He's great. He provides. He does everything that I could have asked for and more. And the judge asked, well, why do you want to leave him? And she simply said, like, every relationship I've ever had, I've been physically abused and beat on. And we would, most of us would hear that and be like, okay, so what's the problem? And she's talked about the agony of it. She said it was like walking on pins and needles because she was expecting something to come that wasn't gonna come, because he was not the type of man that would ever put his hands on her. And she was living in that fear of getting hit or fear of the unknown coming, to the point where it was wrecking her. And a lot of times, you talked about, that healthy standpoint within ourselves. A lot of times the environments and the things that we're used to do breed that toxicity in us. And if we don't recognize it, a lot of times that can lead to us overlooking those mates who may be very compatible with us.
Interesting. Yeah, I literally, like I said, and I had a conversation with a friend about this earlier, and like, this is, not a Black woman, but she basically told me it's essentially what you just said. Because of her different traumatic situations, she was seeking out, and we do that subconsciously sometimes. We're not even really aware, and this is why, I don't know that a situation like that would warrant divorce. Maybe it's like, okay, maybe I go get therapy, right? Maybe I go, really try to get close to God and deal with those spiritual things. You don't throw away a good thing because you can't accept it. Maybe you learn how to accept it. But so that's interesting that was a situation that happened. But I do appreciate you calling on. I do have a few more callers I want to be mindful of.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we have it. Interesting perspective. He mentioned obviously that this is nuanced, but there's an aspect of women that may just at the end of the day be attracted to what's toxic. And they may be attracted to maybe the glitz and the glam or the glittery, and not even know how to appreciate or how to interact with a healthy, strong male. And so, that could be one reason that we just see some just consistently be overlooked for no other reason than the fact that just you're not toxic enough. You're too safe. And how many of us women find ourselves in that scenario? I wonder. Shout out to Ronald Russell with the $4.99 on the super chat. Also, thank you, Norman Henderson, for the $5 super sticker. Okay, so on to the next call. Let's see what we got here. Hey there. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. So, okay, what do you think? What kind of Black men do Black women overlook?
The last caller definitely had a lot of key points. They look over the true definition of what an alpha male is. I do think the men who are mentally tough, the men who actually have a lot of emotional control over themselves and their lives, that's looked at as, like you said, a too safe of a guy, or him describing the example of the woman didn't know if the guy was ever going to snap in court. Yeah. I've seen things like that, girls joking around saying, oh, he's too this, he's too that, I don't know about him. But to add to his points and the whole topic together, I just think that as a collective, and it's not all Black women, but as a collective, Black women are told what to like versus getting their social cues from a family structure. So they're not getting the, concept of the benefits of a family structure from necessarily from grandma or mother and father relations and connections. They're getting it strictly from media. And I think that's the unhealthy, toxic source that we have to concentrate on when you're told, okay, only athlete rapper It's the programming that keeps going on. So the mistakes that's made at 22, 24, 25, unfortunately, they're repeated at 32, 33, 34, 35. And then you kind of trench into 40. Then you're saying things like, well, where all the good men at, or what happened to all the good men? And, like the memes always say, they're in the friend zone where you left them, or the guys that you tapered off, or the guys that you cut off in your earlier time. So I just think that the source of it being, I don't mean to be long-winded, is when you're strictly looking at media as the social cues to go by, you're always going to get a certain result instead of having a more healthy balance from, like I said, the family cues and things like that.
Yeah, no, I think I think you hit the nail on the head when, like I said, when so many of us are born and raised outside of a family structure, we're kind of forced to piece together our idea of what healthy or normal looks like based upon various experiences. And many of us, like I said, without that family structure or really a strong structure on this in general, we'll turn to what's most available to us, which this thing is available to us 24/7 for better or for worse, So I think that plays a role in it, especially since so much marketing in general is specifically geared towards women. I know this, I say this as a person who worked, in agencies and different marketing departments and such for years. It is literally, you have people who get in boardrooms and sit down and plot out, how can we speak to these women? How can we put together a campaign or, different content that is going to encourage women to buy our stuff? So it's like, there's companies out there who are incentivizing, trying to speak to women's emotions for that reason. So it's like, of course, that is happening. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. Well, I do appreciate you calling on. I do have a few more callers I want to be mindful of, but thanks for sharing your experience or just your perspective.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so like I said, I mentioned this before, and I think he made a really, really good point that a lot of us, for whatever reason, we're allowing outside sources to raise us instead of, our families and strong communities raising us. And I think that is I think that could be one of the first things that's kind of causing us women to overlook good men, because we're creating our idea of what a good man looks like. It's being informed by this, and it's being informed by, it's not being informed by what we're seeing at home. So, all right, let me bring on the next caller. Hello.
Hey,
You there?
how you doing, sir? Yeah, I'm here.
So,
I
okay,
think
what kind of black men do black women overlook?
they hit on some good topics, the last two callers. So I'm gonna have to say the men in the black community that are most overlooked are the men that women usually most want. Reason why? Because like people can get in their feelings, feeling like the man that they really, really want. Um, don't want them back in a sense, meaning like typical high school stuff or college stuff, like other women might want them, or and it can become a love hate thing, meaning like that old saying, if you ever heard of it, it's a thin line between love and hate, and
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
it can easily get confused. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna just say that the men that are most wanted are most times overlooked in a strange way, if that makes sense.
So you're saying the men, okay, when you say the men that are most wanted, are you saying maybe the men that may be most wanted in their latter years, maybe like 30s and 40s once they've been established?
Not at all. I'm saying what I said. The men that are most wanted, like typical high school stuff. Like everybody want the high school quarterback. That high school quarterback only got one girlfriend. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
them
okay. So
other
you're
nine cheerleaders or other nine girls are set and kind of jealous. Like, damn, I wanted him, but
got it.
it don't
Yeah.
always go like that.
So okay, but yeah, so you're saying because the girls are primarily going after, you may have 20 girls going after one high school quarterback, High school
Mhm.
quarterback, he's gonna claim one girl. Now he may be sleeping around other people, but he's
With
probably gonna
everybody,
claim
but he
one
gonna
girl.
claim one. You catch
Right,
my drift.
right. And so because those women are focused on that one, they're overlooking all of the other ones.
Right,
That could be good. That could be just as qualified. Could be just as loving. But because they're not that one,
right,
then they're not getting the time of day.
right. Meaning, like, also meaning, cause like the reason, like, he might go with the girl, the high school quarterback, the college quarterback might go with that girl because she's closest to him. You know what I mean? Life is real,
Yeah.
so she might be closest to him. She might just be doing it just because. You know what I mean? She might be hurt from her last relationship, and people lose out on their loved ones sometimes, man, because it's hard to just be yourself sometimes. Because hurt people, but we gotta do better, like as people. And just
Right.
try harder and be ourselves and not give up on ourselves. And I ain't want to talk your ear off, Sade, so I try to make it simple and short. You feel me? I lost connection. I'm sorry. I can't hear a thing. Oh, you went on mute. I'm sorry. I can hear you now, I think.
This has to happen at least once for it to be a good live stream. I have to lose audio connection at least once. So, well, anyways, no, I appreciate you calling on and sharing your perspective. I think you do touch upon some good and probably realistic points. So, yeah, thank you for calling in.
No problem.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree. I pretty much agree with Okay, can you guys hear me? Please tell me you can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Okay, this. I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on today with all this situations. Can y'all hear me? Still no sound for real? Dang. Okay, y'all can hear me. Okay. Woo! I'm sorry, you guys. This is why people be having producers. Maybe one of these days, hopefully, I get to a certain level of success or whatever, then I can have people to help me with all this stuff. But in the meantime, we just gonna work this out. Thank you for being patient and thank you for being so kind. And I'm gonna move on to the next person. Hey, how's it going? Okay, so I can't hear you. Are you making fun of me? Wait, okay, can y'all hear? Am I tripping? Can y'all hear?
Oh no, that was me. That was me.
Okay. Man, like I said, today, I don't know what is going on. Like earlier, my live was shutting off. I had to like literally re-upload this whole thing and restart it. My audio's been tripping. It's whatever. But anyways, thank y'all for bearing with me. Thank you for being here. Okay, so what do you think? What kind of Black men do Black women overlook?
Okay, to get right to the point, because I want to explain a lot of where I'm coming from with that. But basically, they look over the hardworking man. Period.
Okay, they look over the hardworking man. Period. Now, why do you think, in your opinion, why do you think that is?
Well, because with the athlete and the guy on the block, if you will, that represents her fantasy. But the hardworking man, yes, and the hardworking man is the reality that a lot of them just don't want to really deal with. A lot of them just want to be in la la land every day, you know. So a lot of challenges faces with the hardworking man, like the reality of bills, food, his health, just her health, how he has to, deal with her and things like that. A lot of the petty things, like if he's cheating or what's on his phone, that's part of her fantasy in the social media that you're talking about. The reality is like, the car getting fixed, he's working hard for that stuff. And then here's the other catch, matching with the fantasy aspect of it. It's not, I hear all this talk about the high value man and all that, but see, here's the deal. He can make all the money in the world, but she's still going to complain about the time. He's not making enough time.
Of course.
Yeah. And so while he's out working hard, guess who got time for her? The guy on the block who just posted up every day, or the athlete, he just trying to, come back from practice, I'll go back to play Sunday football the next week. I got some time, to come hang out. You come hang out with me, that type of thing.
Okay, so you're saying basically they go after, kind of back alluding to the caller's point earlier, they go after the guy that kind of fits into the fantasy lifestyle, and not necessarily going after maybe what you would consider like a good, hardworking, everyday kind of guy. Maybe he's not in the spotlight, but he's able to handle his own. He's winning in his own space, in his own industry, whatever that is. But they're going after, again, that particular fantasy for whatever reason. I just want to make sure I understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I said, I think you're right. If that wasn't the case, then I don't think things like, Real Housewives of like the Atlanta and the Basketball Wives and Your Millionaire Matchmaker, all these things I don't think would be so popular if there wasn't an aspect of the female psychology that just wants that fantasy.
Exactly.
I don't think.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. I guess one thing, and I won't be too long, but just to kind of allude to where a lot of other guys are coming from earlier. See, a lot of thing is, if a lot of the feminine out here, if they've been so used to a hurt environment, they'll never know what it's like to be in a healed environment. And a lot of them can't shift from hurt to healed environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, right. Like going back to my point earlier where, like I said, there's some of us who we don't know how to exist in a sane and a healthy environment. We're accustomed to the chaos of our life, even if we don't like it, even if we wish we could change it because it's our comfort.
Yeah.
That's the way we've been trained. We seek that out. So I think you hit the nail on the head there, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he's the type of guy that like she'll get mad just because he's healthy, in shape, working hard, and she'll be like, "You trying to, she feels like now you're being judgmental of me." Like she'll just throw that out there, and he's not even doing none of those things. He's even trying to help her out in her own way. I mean, a lot of things probably more than what he should be doing, but he's at least showing that he cares, and she'll take it as something else.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, no, I think psychology, like I said, mental health, spiritual health, that all plays a big role. It all plays a big role in what we're attracted to and what we
Oh yeah,
choose. So
exactly.
yeah, well, I appreciate you calling in and sharing your perspective. I think you definitely did some good points.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna make sure everything's plugged in before I start talking. I'm all paranoid now. Um, yeah, I think he hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's funny because a lot of you guys are, kind of echoing the same point, right? Where it's like either it's the fantasy idea, right? Kind of being addicted to the fantasy, or it's the being used to the excitement of chaos. Chaos, even if it's overwhelming, even if it's it is can suck the life out of us. There's a level of excitement of it, and if you're in an environment that's grown up with no chaos or maybe with no structure, some of us seek that out in our relationships. We seek out that spice, that fire, that spark, and something stable can just be a little bit boring. And so I do think that's an aspect of it. I mean, this is, for those of you who maybe if you missed my interview, you saw it. I interviewed a housewife maybe like 2-3 months ago. She'd been a housewife for about 40 years, and she came from a abusive background where there was physical abuse, sexual abuse, just abuse of every form of abuse that you can think of. She came from, and so she expressed that to me, and she's like, yeah, when I was a younger woman, I would find myself in situations of other people who were abusers. And although I didn't like it, I was choosing that because I knew how to exist. I had learned how to exist in chaos. And she talked about how she had to go through different processes and different steps to learn how to exist in a healthy environment. And so, like I said, I think there's very many of us women who we find ourselves in those scenarios, not even because we necessarily maybe want it consciously, but we have been trained as to maybe seek after, which is not good. And like I said, if we're not come from a strong family structure, which many of us don't, again, we're turning to what either our phones see it or maybe our friends, show us as popular or good or healthy. And that can be a dangerous setup. So I'm going to bring on the next caller. Hey, how's it going? Quick, you there? Wait, wait, why is your okay? Wait, what's going on with the audio? Wait, you're so. Was that just me? Wait, why am I hearing the? Okay, wait, was that? Okay, maybe I'm tripping. It's y'all. Everything today. Everything today. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I hope that wasn't me, y'all. I don't think that was me. But we're just gonna move on and do a part 2 a little later. Maybe there's something going on with the audio. Like I said, this has been the day for the audio. Let me see. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. Okay, so what do you think? What kind of black men do black women overlook?
I think I had to agree with the previous caller who said
You mean
average.
the previous caller?
Yeah, the previous, not
okay, I was like, wait.
Yeah, just
all good.
pretty much hardworking man. I got a pretty unique perspective because it's definitely not something I'm proud of, but I pretty much grew up in the hood, a thug around a bunch of other thugs, and
Okay.
I ran through women younger and become more of like a disease. A lot of dudes want that, but it's actually a big hindrance when you get older and you're not where you want to be in life. So
Yeah.
anyway, long story short, I went through all that. I changed. I realized it's a lot harder to get a lot of black women whenever you are put together well. And I don't think it's about being not liking someone who's masculine, because they don't see it as masculine. They see it as boring. They see it as,
Right.
when you go to work and you come off and you don't argue. We not for the yell on the phone. I'm not for to call you at your name. We gonna get to the point and compromise. All that is boring to them. It's like salad when they used to fast food. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much where I come from with it. I have nieces now, and they see me owning trucks and making over $100,000, and they pat me on the back. But I let them know that I didn't always have this. I started off making $30,000 a year for years, and then 40 and 50, and work my way up. But a lot of women don't want to work with a man through that. They want them.
Yeah, they want him once he's built. They don't want to be a part of the building process. But like I said, that very rarely do you see that really in any culture. I mean, unless you're really willing to embrace the age gap dating, dudes, fresh out of college, getting to the workforce aren't usually racking in, money like that, because it takes time to build.
Yeah, I went to college and graduated. I'm not even using my degree, and most of the people who I went to school with and that I know, I'm making way more money than them, and I'm not even, I'm driving trucks and owning trucks and doing all this other kind of stuff. And so most of the time people don't even know, what I'm making unless I let people know, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's definitely a learning process, and I think a lot of young women are attracted to the whatever quote unquote high value guys and guys that can get a lot of women. But what I tell a lot of younger guys and a lot of young women, that lifestyle is addictive. It's like doing drugs. They do studies and show that, those type of addictions are just like being hooked on heroin and all this other kind of stuff. So it's not nothing to play around with. And I think a lot of young women don't know when they try to get with a guy like that, what they're getting themselves into.
Yep. That's facts.
So,
that's facts. Well, I appreciate you sharing your perspective on this. And I also appreciate you, because I'm one of the people that, maybe because I speak to women, I'm more like, hey, I think it's really, really important for you to guard your womb. I do not promote, being sexually promiscuous. I think it's really, really damaging for multiple reasons. But I think also it can be for men too. But I think it's worse for women. But I think even across the board, I think it's damaging for men and women to just be sexually loose and promiscuous. So it's it's good and helpful to hear you coming in and talking about being like, yeah, I did that, and it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I definitely worked on it for literally. God took me through a place for a period of 5 to 8 years where I got that out of my system, and it took a long time. But I appreciate your time, and
absolutely, I appreciate you calling. Yeah, so very interesting perspective. I think he hit on a few points. One, make sure this is. I hope y'all can hear me. This mic. But one, I think that is interesting is this idea of attention. Actually, now here's the thing. So I don't think women just want money. I think it's also status. It's status. It's attention. And this is why you can have men who are, maybe they are, truck drivers, or they're doing certain things in the industry that may not require a degree or may not be considered white collar, but they're raking in six figures. Garbage men, for example, they can make really good money. There's certain janitors in certain places that can make really good money, but it's like, so they're bringing in the money, but maybe because it doesn't have certain status, or it doesn't have, a certain flair associated with it, it may also not be as exciting. And so I think he touched upon a key component of the female psychology, which is sometimes attention. And that may, I think, also feed back into what he was saying earlier about, okay, all the women wanting the quarterback. If you're with the quarterback, you're with the hot guy, that's attention. And I don't care what anybody says. A lot of us females out there, modern females, they want attention. This is why, if you think about the women whom they may dress up, go to the club, wear all these seductive kind of dresses, face beat, everything, and then they're mad when a guy comes up to them because they just want the attention. This is why you have certain female content creators that have put out content that they know is BS, they know is toxic, they know it's evil, but they simply want the attention. And so I do think he hit upon a key component there, which is that there's some women I think who would just they also will seek after the guys that have a certain level of status, or they have a certain level of like I said, I just know if status, flair, they're renowned, because again, that just gives them more attention. And I think that's another aspect that can feed into female, psychology, for better or for worse. So, okay. So let me move on to the next one. Let me see. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So, okay. So what do you think? What kind of black men do black women overlook?
Type of black women do black men. So that's obviously everyone's an individual, right? But you can make some type of generalities. And one thing I wanted to bring to the table was that I've experienced a lot of insecure black women.
Okay.
And I think that some people don't acknowledge that, or maybe are not aware of that type of phenomenon, where I know that some people, say, oh, I'm settling or I'm dating down. I'm not talking about that crap. I'm not talking about that crap whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm talking more about, like, if you do have your stuff together and you might carry yourself a certain way, you might have a certain phonetic, like I have a certain phonetics. I'm not naive about how I sound. If you have a certain vernacular,
Yeah.
it could kind of be off-putting or intimidating to some, or just not even sexy. Let's be honest. So there's also that, but that's a certain demographic of black women. I'm not talking about hood chicks. I'm talking about like college girls or stuff like that. Where they might be somewhat I don't know, like feeling unworthy. Like it's kind of a weird thing. And I've had several relationships with black women that I didn't know until later on that they had traumatic childhood experiences that contributed to that type of insecurities, and it's sad, a lot of times, some of these women need therapy. People in general just need therapy. So, I wanted to bring that to the table.
Security, yeah.
Yeah, like, and it might sound like I'm not trying to big myself up in any ways. I'm just sharing like a theme that I witnessed, and these would be like girls from good families, Smith College, like good colleges.
Yeah.
And they would say, "Oh, you're into black girls?" Or like, "Oh, I didn't think you would want to be with someone like me." And in some ways you could get away with murder, which is not I'm not proud of any of that stuff, but it's complicated.
No, you're not the first one that I've heard, first educated black man that I heard that, speaks clear, however you want to put it, to certain phonetics. Like, you're not the first one I've heard that say that, where you're just like, yeah, there's black women who assumed for no other reason than maybe just the way I present myself that I wouldn't want them, that I would maybe date a particular kind of woman. Like, I don't know where that's coming from. So I think you do hit on a good point. Insecurity, of course that is going to weigh in a woman and whether or not she thinks she does qualify for a guy or not. Even if she may never say that, you're never going to hear a woman say, "Oh, I don't feel like I qualify for this guy," because that would be like breaking girl code. But
exactly, it's like that ego thing.
Yes, I think some of us absolutely. Many of us are insecure. Many of us are insecure. And so I think you hit at a really, really, really good point.
Yeah, and like I could relate to it too, in some ways too. Like I remember, approaching like having the butterflies, when I was a lot younger, approaching like beautiful women, and like I just didn't have a confidence about me or anything like that. Now you could get to the other extreme where some women might not be intimidated and just be overconfident because all their life they've been told that they're queens, and you had men just gassing their heads up. But thankfully, I never ran into women like that. But I wanted to, throw out that other archetype of women that are out there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Well, thank you for calling in and sharing your perspective.
Buenas noches.
Okay, buenas noches. Yeah, I think he did hit upon some good points that some of us do face insecurity, and that could be a reason. Yeah, that could be a reason. Guys, if you're on here, please get those likes up. Please get those likes up. We are talking about what kind of Black men do Black women overlook? So I've had a lot of gentlemen come in and share their experience. Lovely ladies, you are always welcome to share yours. If you want to give your particular opinion as to why you think maybe, Black women may overlook a certain kind of time of men, or you yourself have overlooked a certain kind of men, you can call on. But so far we've had some lovely gentlemen come in and share their perspective, and let's see. We've had another one backstage. Hey, okay, we're gonna try this again.
Is this my real voice now?
Yeah.
It always happens. If I get into StreamYard the first time, it happens, and then when I come back in, it's normal. I don't know why that is.
Nice comedic break. I'm just glad it wasn't me, because I've had a lot of audio issues tonight, so I'm just glad it wasn't me. All good. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? It's so interesting. Like I said, I've had it's been good to hear from you gentlemen on this topic. Ladies, I don't bite. Ladies, I don't bite. I don't know what it is. Ladies are, I don't know if they're afraid. I don't get it, but eventually I'll have some more. Well, what do you think on this topic? Why do you think Black men?
It actually depends on the individual woman, and also depends on the reason why they want this particular man. First, there are some, like they mentioned, the athletes or even the high value men, and you have to ask them, do they really want the men, or do they want the lifestyle? Because
fair point.
Yeah, because there's some of them who are looking at the lifestyle. There are some women who want the bad boys, and the dusties, because from my perspective, it seems like this is where the real masculinity is, since it was those bad boys and dusties who always do things daring and things like that. And one thing some of these women do not realize is, when you get in somebody who put themselves in danger, next thing you know, they're in danger. And then there are cases where, if they look for them to protection, sometimes who will protect them from them? You know what I'm saying?
Fair point.
So that could be another instance. And then there's an instance where, okay, now you heard of women who want the most alpha, right? But then there's some women who want the simps.
Yeah, they want to control. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, They want to control you. And sometimes the ones who are assertive get rejected because your women are looking for men to control.
Yeah, that happens. That does happen. Yeah, that does. Yeah, you hit on a good point. There are some very assertive women who do prefer what do you want to call it, a beta male? I don't know what the terms are.
Yeah.
There are some women out there who are looking for men to control. And I mean, that's not a good setup in my opinion. Anytime you're in a relationship and it's just about control. But yeah, that does happen. That does happen. So would you say then that based upon, your definition of simp, what population of Black men do you think are simp? If you were just to put out a general metric or a general percentage, what percentage would you say falls?
That's a good question. I'm not for sure exactly. I'm going to guess about maybe 35%.
35%. Okay.
Yeah, somebody said 85.
85. Yikes.
Yeah, somebody said 85. Yeah.
I've heard some people say that they believe that single mothers raise simps. They raise how they want men to be versus actually nurturing masculine quality. I've heard that argument before. So, but I'm always curious to just hear people's perspective on that. Like, what percentage of the population today is a simp? However that's defined.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's one more type of woman.
Okay.
One who reject Black men in general.
Just because.
Divestors.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. No, that
yeah, because maybe of their past experience with them or something, and did not look at the whole general population of Black men. But all those four things I've talked about came to one thing: ego.
Okay.
Yeah. They're looking for somebody, to massage their ego. They want to walk with somebody, and the world's supposed to look at them, and someone would say to themselves, "Hey, I got this man, okay," and you wish you have it. I mean, it's all an ego thing, really. So for all those groups, Black men who are not like one who would stroke their ego,
right?
Those are the ones who they reject.
Okay, interesting. So you hit on various different angles. You said you got the ego, you got the ones who want to control, you want the ones who go after the fantasy, you want the ones who don't think that if it's too stable, it's boring. I'm trying to think that I missed any of your points.
No, you didn't. I think no, you didn't miss any.
Okay, no, I think you made some interesting points. Well, it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, whether you're a chipmunk voice or whatever voice you have going on right now.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, well, you take care. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
You too.
Yeah, so he hit on a few different points there. And see, this is the thing about it, men and women, I mean, like in general, we can't be neatly fit into just one box. So I think this really is a nuanced subject because you can never just say, oh, all Black women don't like this particular kind of man. I mean, that's just, I mean, everybody is unique, but I think there are general trends that we can accept as true, especially when we look at the fact that, there are many of us who are not, majority of us, I'm not mistaken, who are coming from broken homes or single parent households. And that's obviously going to inform our experience when we're getting older. That is going to affect what we choose. If we don't see how a man and a woman interact together, how masculine and femininity, or how, masculinity and femininity, coexist. If we don't see that, then again, we have to allow other things to teach us. And I think many of us, again, are that is what we are experiencing. And then let's just be honest, there's a lot of pain associated a lot of times with coming from a broken home, whether it's a, divorcee situation, or maybe you just have your dad wasn't in your life or your mom wasn't in your life. It's not to say that you can't still have a fulfilling and satisfying life or existence, but there's certain things that just aren't going to be as easy. And there's certain traumas that you may experience, or certain issues that you may have as a child, because you don't have that source. And so again, those traumas, those pains, those issues, those situations, again, that is going to impact the kind of partner that we choose, for better or for worse. So those are the kinds of things we cannot overlook. And I think sometimes we're quick to, but it does impact what happens. Okay, so let's move on to the next caller. Also, y'all, if you're here, please get those likes up. And I appreciate everybody who has been bearing with me with my different struggle stream scenarios. I'm checking every few minutes, wanted to make sure my audio was good and I'm not talking to myself. Also, appreciate all of you guys who have sent any love or support via super chats. If you want to continue to show support, you can do so. You can also find me on Venmo and Cash App, Shay Charday. And I'm going to move on to the next live. Shout out to Deanie with the 10 on the super chat. I appreciate it. I see you're building something special here. Your platform has good energy. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being a supporter. I appreciate you for being here, for spending time with me. And first of all, just thank all of you guys for being here. Like, you could be literally anywhere else. I'm sure there's plenty of other lives, but you're here with me having this conversation. So I do appreciate your time and your consideration. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next caller. And like I said, if any of you ladies want to call in and give your perspective, I'd love to hear from you too, if you're open to it. Let me see. Hey there, how's it going?
What's going on?
Okay, let's see if we can understand the audio here.
Can you hear me?
Okay, you're a little muffled, but let's see if we can, how this works.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're sounding, there's a little bit of an echo.
Hold on, let me see. How about now?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of echo. Okay, maybe do this. I'll move on to the next call and then maybe try to come back in and see if it's better. Because it's like there's an echo, so it's hard for me to get out your words. Okay. Yeah, so I'll move on to the next caller and then maybe call back in and we can see if that helps it. Okay. All right. Hey, how's it going?
Sister Charday.
How's it going? Oh,
yes. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, great topic. I'm curious though. Eugene called and gave his take on it, and he comes from a different era, per se,
Fair point.
and what so have you. So I'm curious as far as, because I'm in my mid-30s, and I started noticing a shift, I think, as I was leaving college.
Okay.
And when I say a shift, I mean in people more being susceptible to social media. And also, yeah. So yeah. I'm wondering how much of that is because that's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing that as well too. And think about it this way. In our community, especially with the single parent rate and what so have you, I don't know what the true metric or stat is, because at first I thought I knew it, but I don't. Because I think depending on what source you target, some say it's as high as 70%, some say it's as low as 49.
Right, depending upon the source. I read one yesterday that said they was like 80%.
Yeah, and I don't know how to quantify that, but yeah. So I think in both regards, if the father is not home, the father helps instill confidence in us as men, specifically. My father and I, we had a strained relationship, but he was still around, I suppose. But in the women, that also gives them the reinsurance as far as the kind of men that they're picking as well. So if we tie this up, I think not just with the destruction of the Black family when the father was removed from the home, but it also
who's really vetting and there for the ladies who are picking certain kinds of men that they're picking. Because I think, you know, from each of the gentlemen that's called, I think you've heard it. You've seen the trend where, not saying every father is the same, and not saying that some, you know, because like you said, you asked a good question: how many of us are simps? Because if your father's a simp, then he's just going to give you advice that, as a man, won't help you. I mean, it may help a woman, but it won't help you as a man. So, in thinking about that, and thinking about my experiences as well, and I think another thing is it's confidence as well. Because if you're going to be if we're thinking of this from a critical standpoint, and what women, you know, to be fair on the women's side and play devil's advocate, let's just say you're going on a date or you're talking to a woman and you meet and interact with her. If that conversation flows and there's some sort of energy and confidence in that conversation, chances are likely it's going to work out. But if you're socially awkward or inept in any sort of way, it really will take a certain kind to kind of give you the benefit of the doubt and to keep
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Skills, that is important. Yeah.
So I think in looking at those, you know, I think it's easy to say in some regards, okay, the woman always picks wrong, per se. But the thing I like I said, we have to, if we think about this critically, I think for men especially, once you're past that high school age and you're going into college and then you're going to the workforce, and then when you're approaching and meeting women at that standpoint, the confidence plays in as to where you are career-wise. And most of us, we're not going to be there, especially as Black men. We have to work, you know, much harder, I feel, than anyone else, to kind of get to that income standpoint. And for myself, that's what happened with me. And I think for some other men, and even my friend circle, we're all married as well. So I think that plays a factor in things. So I had one other point. I'm rambling all over the place. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think all those make a difference and matter. But at the end of the day, as I was saying, I did notice a shift, and I'd be curious. I think I'd be curious as far as what our brothers that are like maybe 26 and 27 and younger, what their experience was. Because as I said, I started noticing a shift in habits and also what women tended to look for as I was leaving college.
Very interesting. You make a good point. Yeah, because our parents, grandparents reject social media by and large. Not saw all of them. Some of them use them, you know, like a grandparent that uses it, Facebook, just to stay in touch. But by and large, they're not looking on it as a way to compare their life. They're not looking at it as a you know, to get their news, to get their information. It's just kind of something that they use and make sure their grandchild across the state, they know what's going on. But many of us, growing up, the generations growing up on this. This is their source of information. This is how they know what's trending, what's happening. This is how they know what songs to look for, what dresses or what outfits, you know, like, so it's such a part of the like growing experience for, I think, especially a lot of young children, you know, teenagers. Like this is essentially a part of their education. So that is going to have an impact. Really interesting. Yeah, really interesting.
And what do you think? I mean, in your experience, because your experience, I think, matters in this case too, because you're obviously married now as well. Did you meet your husband in college, or was it after college?
No, it was after. And I met my husband. It was actually through mutual friends, which I, you know, highly think that's the best option if you don't meet the person in college, ideally. You know, it's good if you have friends or family that can kind of vouch for the person. Now I understand in this era of social media, digital, that many of us just simply don't have that option, you know, or especially with the pandemic, people aren't even like meeting in person now because of that. So you kind of have to vet differently now. But for me, like I said, it was like a mutual friend thing. And yeah. So
did your circle of did you notice if your circle of friends, I guess, while you're going to college, did they confide more in other women, or when they were trying to select men, or were they confiding more in their parents?
You know, I wouldn't say I had the typical college experience that. So I stayed at home, like I stayed at home, or still lived at home, and I drove to school, but I was really, really, really involved in my church. So for me, it was about an hour commute back and forth to my college. So I would literally go to college just to, study, just to get my courses in. And then when I would go back home, it was work. And then when I wasn't working, I was at church. So like I literally, like, I wasn't doing the party thing. Like, my social life, if you will, was in church. And a lot of people around that time who were getting married, a lot of my friends, they were marrying people that they had like met with the youth group, or different like volunteer kind of situations, scenarios that happen within the church. So that was because of that. Like I said, I wasn't really in the party scene, wasn't hanging around, fraternities or sororities. Like, my social life at the time literally was a church. Now, there's things I probably would have done different looking back, but I avoided a lot of issues to a certain extent. But yeah, so I don't know if that helps. And I'm thinking, as far as social media, I remember for me, I was kind of resistant to social media at first. I'm not gonna lie, because I just felt like I preferred to talk to people, to meet people. And I actually got into social media. I learned about it when it came to like a job. That's when I was like, okay, I should actually learn about this. But my own personal life, I didn't see any need for it at the time. So I just was kind of like, oh, Facebook, oh, okay, whatever. MySpace, oh, okay, whatever. It was just like, oh. So that's just me.
Yeah, it just really seems that you mentioned a good thing about church, and you made a good point, and that's why I suspected that some of your friends found their mates or husbands in church or some sort of activity, and that group, I think that bridges the barrier, because when you think about it, I think you and I talked about this on a different topic. There's really not a streamlined, easy way once you leave college to meet people.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. Unless, like I said, and that's a good thing about like a church or a spiritual setting. You're gonna have, there's generally there's gonna be shared values. Now, listen, you can have some creepers in there, because that's a whole nother conversation. But you can still find creepers in those kind of scenarios, or dusties, if you will. But generally speaking, in that kind of set, there's going to be a certain level of shared values. You're going to share like core beliefs that I think you might find helpful. So, like I said, after college, it does become difficult, because who wants to date somebody and they met their job? Who wants to date a coworker? And apart from that, unless you're like volunteering, or you bump into somebody randomly at a grocery store, like, where are you going to meet them? You want to meet them at the club? Some people, that's okay. I was never the person that's like, I'm going to randomly go to a club and try to meet. That it just wasn't me. But some people are cool with that. So everybody's different.
Right. Well, no, yeah, thanks for entertaining that conversation. Because I think that ties into things. And yeah, it's how many people really retain, someone from high school, which is very low. Because at that point, once you get to college, you each evolve in a different way, one way or the other. So, but yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I think I'm going to take one more call. Looks like somebody dropped. Let's see. And then we're going to just up. Hey, how's it going? You there?
I am here. How you doing, Lady
I'm
Sade?
good. So, okay, what do you think? What kind of black men do black women overlook?
I think I was having a conversation earlier, and one thing that they told me was sometimes it's short men, right? And
fair.
I thought that was
fair point.
I thought that was a very interesting point, right? I thought that was something that could be broken down, because what she said actually was a lot of women they say I don't want to date someone 5'6", someone 5'7", et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what ended up happening is is they like men like the baby. They like men like Omarion, his brother Orion. I can name a lot of other ones that aren't 6 feet, right? Obviously these men have money, resources, status. And that's the thing that I always tell men to focus on money, resources, status, everything else. It's going to just flow when it comes to women because, again, it 5'6", 6'4". If you broke, you have no resources, you're not resourceful, you're not bringing anything to her. She's not going to go for you. But I do think that a lot of women overlook um, short guys, and I didn't think about that really because that's not my personal experience. But and I am short. I'm only 5'6", 5'7", but that's never been my experience where women overlooked me because, frankly, I'm educated and handsome. With that being said, I just feel like some women look at height and they say, well, maybe he can't protect me. Maybe he isn't a good leader. And I've heard that. Trust me, I'm not bringing up any names, any other channels, but there's been conversations on shows about height. There's been people even to come to me and say, well, I know I'm better than you simply and only because I'm taller, which is ridiculous. I mean, thank you. Thank you. Right. But what do you say to that, Lady Sade? You seem to be a very, you're married, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't know how tall you are, but would you talk to a man that's 5'6", 5'7"?
Yeah, I've dated different guys that were shorter or at least at my height. Now and I've dated guys who are tall. Now it just so happens to be my husband is tall. But I wasn't for me personally, I was never that was never like a first quality. That was never like oh, he's too short. I can't date him. Like if he was for me, if he was like, okay, he was at my height or maybe a little bit short, I was like, okay. Now I didn't want to have a guy that was like 5 inches shorter, if I'm being honest. I'm 5'8". So I was like, would I want to date somebody that's 5'3"? Maybe not. But it's rare that you meet a guy that's 5'3". But so I was a little bit more on the height. I was more leaning on the height thing. Because I was looking at other qualities. Like some of my best friends in particular are married to two of them I can think of are married to men who are shorter than them. The guy who pastored me and my husband is like, he's I think like 5'4", and his wife is like 3 inches taller. And it's funny because he's a short, I guess, short stature, big personality. And he's just one of those, he's just like a natural born leader. And so we actually used to have conversations about this, and he would say, this is before he decided to become a pastor and really, pursue God. He talked about how when he was just kind of running the street and just trying to get as high of a body count as possible, how women sometimes would like turn him down, but he would be persistent and he had like a certain personality and swag. So he would get him. And so I think to your point, yeah, there are some ladies who are just like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to mess with a short guy. But I think there's also a big aspect of us who it's like, if you have the right personality, again, that status intention is a big, big point. I mean, think of that comedian. What's his name? Oh gosh, I'm like drawing a blank.
Kevin Hart.
Yes. How many women would, you know what I mean, if he had a chance? But he has status. He has again, it's the attention. And I think for me, this is, again, I'm not a guy, so I can't speak for this, but I think if a man hits on those other points and he's short, most women will overlook that. Mr. Obsidian, he talks about this in his, in his book.
Yeah, shout out to Obsidian.
Yes. I think he actually has a chapter dedicated where he did a study and he was showing how short guys make better husbands. And he's like, they do more housework, they tend to make more money, they tend to be more loyal. He had this whole argument. So
one thing I like to do is, I think you have to be healthy. I think you have to go to the gym.
Yes.
I'm a college graduate, so you have to be able to commit to something and actually see it through. Shout out to the brothers of Phi Alpha, and shout out to Eugene Steele. He's bringing up Eric Bell. Shout out to Danica Marie.
Yeah.
I love Eric and I love Danica. I'm actually a mod over in her chat, so shout out to Danica Marie. But Eric, he's a great husband, right? He's in shape. He works out every day. Mm-hmm. He represents masculinity. Now, me personally, I haven't experienced those things. But like I said, I have experienced other men who are short, but they lack those other things that you're talking about. And I would tell them, go to school, or if you don't go to school, get a job, become a stable adult so you can have something to offer a woman. And if you don't physically attract the women that you really want, maybe you need to really go out and look better, dress better, get your hair cut more. All those different things add up. Now, for me, I always go after dark skinned women, women your complexion, darker, et cetera, et cetera. I've never had those issues before because, again, I consider myself very handsome for the most part. Many other women do as well. But I also try to speak um, like I'm not stupid, right? Have something
Yeah.
to talk about all the time. Be able to teach women stuff that they don't know, whether it's something about finance, business, history, whatever it is. Just be interesting, right? So I'm not gonna take up too much time. You have a big platform. I know you got other people in the back. But I do want to say I support your platform. I absolutely love it. I think that your content is adorable. That's the word I like to use when I think about your content. Yes, it's very adorable. But I'm gonna go and get out of here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
And
Thank
peace
you
to
for
everybody in the
stopping
chat.
by.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. No, I think he makes a really, really good point. I do think that, and again, I'm not a man, so I'm not the authority on this, but this is my personal opinion that confidence, being on your purpose, having a result, all those different things. He mentioned dressing nice. Like women at the end of the day are attracted to confident women. I think they really, really, really are. They are attracted to confident men. Sorry, did I say women? Confident men. Also the status, right? Status. So again, even if you're not really hitting it in the height department, but you have the status, you have the look, you have the attention, like I just think a lot of women can overlook height or some of those maybe physical, what may be considered physical disadvantages if you're hitting it on all the different areas as a man. But like I said, y'all, that's just my opinion. I'm not a man, so y'all can correct me if I'm wrong here. Okay, looks like I have another caller. Hey, let's see how this audio is working.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I think that sounds a little better.
It sounds better. Okay.
Okay, wait. Okay.
How
Is there
about now?
something playing in the background?
Oh, let me turn it down a little. Turn it down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the car. I just got off the plane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this KJ JoJo, I called into your show the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been reaching out to you, but we'll talk about that. But I wanted to say, kind of highlight what this conversation is, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the women that the men that most women overlook. A lot of time is the presentation of the man. Because at the end of the day, we already know that we have a society that promotes hypergamy. We have a society that promotes capitalism, and this takes us away from our core of being attracted to the providing, dominance, maturity, stability that we find in each other, right? Because now you got a lot of these women are loose and a lot of these men are controlled. That's why I said 85% of the men are simps, because
85. Wow, that's the high.
And I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was at a simp phase. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be honest, like, because we live in a society where white culture dominates, and we still ain't on top yet. We still haven't taken our throne back. We still haven't leveled the playing field. That lets me know our position right there. But and I ain't taking shots at my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us just miseducated or misguided. A lot of the brothers that claim they alpha, a lot of brothers that claim they beta. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's about where you trying to empower your people and trying to take them to. And I think that a lot of times that it gets lost in the sauce when women that know that don't want them, and that's why they overlook. And these women are after men that really don't want them. That's why they get overlooked or get used. So it's more like a hit and miss type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I've learned from my own experience that and I know I ain't no, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no ugly dude, you know what I mean? But I'll be going after women that I know I don't really want. And I'll be and I'll take that into account, that if they don't want me back, I'm always going after some that don't want me. Right? So I blame and generalize everybody else for what somebody is not doing for me. versus me looking at the picker. Who am I choosing? Why am I choosing these people? Now, don't get me wrong. Some people just feel unattractive, and hey, that's just a misgiving. You know, I'm just saying. That's just an unfortunate situation. Everybody ain't as fortunate as everybody. I'm just being honest, all right? You know, I want to have compassion in that area as possible, but at the end of the day, some people are just physically unattractive. Nobody want man, woman, cat, or dog. You know. But you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, that scenario with our people, the women, it's the narrative that's being pushed. It's more to keep us divided. As long as white media pushes this agenda into our culture, our people will adopt these habits. And we got to accept that we're Black Americans, but we need to set our own identity. We have to set our own identity as Black Americans. Because I just now accepted that I'm American. Like for a while, I was African this and African that. I was like, man, hold on, man. I'm over here in America, man. I need to accept that. I need to make the best of whatever it is versus trying to live in a world that non-existent, hoping that something will be different than what it really is, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and I gotta accept this society for what it is. But another thing I wanted to touch on, Chaz, you know, I remember you posting that post, and it intrigued me, and it pulled my attention when I saw you post a book about Al-Anon, and you talked about mental health and you know, stuff in the community. And I was just trying to, because I know when you responded to the email, but I don't think you had time to really look at what I was asking and look at what I was trying to convey, right? My mom is a professional in that area. She's an advocate, you know, she's an author. And I feel like she could do a very good for your the information that you're passing along to the community. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was trying to make that connection, right? You know, but you know, I understand you're very
No, I said I saw your email. I've been a little backed up, but I do plan to go and take a look. You sent me the website, so I do plan to take a look through all the information. I haven't forgotten. it's on my to-do list. So
okay. I was just trying to make sure that you knew, put the voice with the person.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, but I appreciate everything you're doing and enlightening everybody. This ain't no shade to the brothers. I know they probably over there going crazy in the comment, you know. But I'm just being honest. A lot of time, it's us men picking women that we know ain't for us, and when we take account to these women, generalizing them just because we know we good looking dudes. This particular woman right here don't want me, so now all the women bad.
So you saying,
you know,
dudes sometimes put themselves in scenarios where they're wanting attention, or they're wanting a woman that they know isn't for them, or they know is maybe they're not qualified for, maybe that woman isn't on their level, however that is.
Well, I'm gonna say this, because put it like this, a lot of time the qualities of that woman don't match up or align with the qualities of that man.
Fair point.
But what would happen is either he would be trying to undercompensate or overcompensate to fill that gap. I've done it before. I'm speaking for personal experience, so let me get out of the third person and talk about myself. I've done it before. You know, I've went at women that have been above my caliber as far as character, integrity, and all that stuff, and value system. And I knew this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid to admit that. Like, there were some things in my life I was still immature about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it was like, well, this woman here, she'll be doing a disservice messing with me because I'm still playing.
Fair. Okay, fair point. So that goes back to kind of what I was saying before. It's like, if you going for somebody that's not on your level, however that's defined, whether it's character, not being equally yoked, I know what they say in some religious settings, but at the end of the day, y'all aren't on the same playing field. Then it's like you even really be, you can't be upset or take it to heart if that person rejects you.
Right. So look, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. So I used to have this thing for the strippers, right? Like I could always get a stripper.
Okay, let's
but
keep
I
it
couldn't
PG.
never keep. I could always get one, just couldn't keep one. Just couldn't keep one, right? And I always was, but you know what I realized when I did a analysis on while I was doing it, I was trying to change the woman. I was trying to revert her. Yeah, I was trying to change her and make her somehow, respectable woman. Yeah, I'm talking about for real. So, because I'm from Atlanta, so ain't nothing but strippers out here. So I would love and trying to get a stripper project. My homeboys would be like, "But you stay with them strippers." I'm like, "Yeah, man, but I can't keep them." So I had to break it down, keep it real, and get me a real woman in my life. You know what I mean? So I got me a lady now. I got me a woman. She carries herself like a woman, a lady. She's respectable, she's kind, she's loving, she's supportive, she's nurturing, she's feminine. She's all those things, man. But I really appreciate her being in my life because she listened to, I don't think she listened to you, but she listened to information in the manosphere. I'm gonna turn her on to you though. You know what I mean? Get her hip to you. But
okay.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm looking forward to it now, Shay, because you say you got her on the list, so
yes, I do. I have that to review. So I appreciate, but I do appreciate you calling in.
No doubt. Thank you for having me. Y'all have a good night.
You too. So, okay. So I was about to wrap this up, but it looks like we have one more. What do we see? Hakeem says, share that we have a young, shy female cadet in chat asking for the link and words of encouragement to call in. So here is the link. If you would like to call in, I think could star Fleet Officer Daniels. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm getting hungry. It's dinner time over here. But you know what? I think this has been a interesting conversation. Y'all hit on a lot of different points. I do think, at the end of the day, I'm never going to sit here and say that, all females are the problem, all Black women are the problem. Obviously that's not the case. And that only Black women are the ones looking for the wrong dude. You do have dudes out there that are looking for the wrong females. The previous caller just mentioned that. So I do think that happens sometimes where maybe even I think on both sides actually. And I tend to speak for women because I am a woman, obviously, and I, lived with us. But I think there are men out there too where sometimes they do go for the wrong kind of woman because we are a really, really visual culture. Like I said, this informs our experience. Let's just be honest, many of us, we get introduced to porn or to, things early. You know what I mean? You go on Instagram, OnlyFans, all this stuff we're introduced to really young. And you even have men out there who, because they see this stuff, they're now looking for a certain kind of woman. Maybe not a real woman, maybe not a woman that will be a wife, but maybe they're drawn towards that one that has a certain look, one that has a certain, feel about her. And she ain't checking for that dude. And honestly, she ain't worth being checked after anyways. But like I said, I do think that it does happen on both sides. We do see Black women looking over good men because they're attracted to maybe certain things that aren't healthy. And I think it does go for men too sometimes, where they're looking after, because men are visual, right? There's a lot of competition these days. You got a lot of females out there, beautiful women. It's like now many of us, we're competing with what's fake. We're competing with, celebrities who have Instagram pages and social media pages where they may get, a snip in a tuck, and they may get implants, and they may get the collagen, the little collagen, they get work done. Or you're in an industry where you get paid for your looks. And that's what now everyday men are having access to like this. So we can't act like that doesn't impact both of us. It certainly does. But I wanted to focus a little bit more on the men today, because I think for us women, it is important to understand maybe where they're coming from. I've to me have found it important and helpful when I've actually sat and listened and be like, man, I didn't think about that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware. I found some of those times, some of those moments to be the most useful, the most helpful to me. So, like I said, I think it is important to have these kinds of conversations, and just to learn a little bit more. So I do appreciate all of you guys who have called in, all of you guys who have sent love and support in super chats. I would say at the end of the day, you got to be mindful of, you want to be mindful of what you're choosing and why you're choosing. I'm going to get a little bit more into this later on this week. Hopefully, I'm planning on having a discussion with a good friend of mine on toxic people, toxic women. And we're going to talk about some of the different behavioral things that influence us women to make decisions, and perhaps, the different things we can do to do better. We're talking, why we are attracted to maybe toxic men, why we find ourselves in toxic relationships, why we engage in self-defeating toxic behavior. So we're going to get into that and more later on this week, as I think that is something that we need to be aware of, and women, I think we need to talk about. So stay tuned if you find that interesting. And again, I appreciate all of you guys for calling in, for showing support, for showing your love, and definitely stay tuned, because we're going to have more of these fun conversations. And I think so. Maybe Starfleet Officer Danielle is off, and that's okay. I'll have plenty of other opportunities. Oh wait, no. Are you going to call in? Feel free to call in if you want, and if not, like I said, we're going to have I'll have other lives this week. If you want to call in and chat, you're always welcome. I don't bite, promise. All right, guys, I'm hungry, so I think I'm gonna log off. We will talk later, y'all. Peace.